That's right.
No,
Welcome,
you're
welcome. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Thank you
Can you
so
hear
much.
me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, good, good, good.
We
I
can
was
hear you.
just listening to you talking about the cold, and I was kind of saying, look, I'm in air conditioning here, and I'm still sweating. So, what I would give for us to exchange our positions. So, there you go.
Seriously, I mean, I think we've had this debate before. Which one do people prefer, the cold or the warm weather, or the hot weather?
I think the hot weather definitely for me because
Yeah.
I couldn't cope with that cold anymore. It's kind of like nerve-wracking at times.
And especially as you get older, you don't want to be stuck in this cold weather. So, no. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, and I always say this, gentlemen, because I know that we have some men who are behind the scene and they don't come on, but some of them are watching as their wives are
Well,
on live. So,
I can see Deji Ishmael there, so there is definitely one other guy here.
okay, please
Hello, Tineke.
invite your male friends and family members. We have a guy on today, so please let them come on and join us.
Yeah.
Mild weather, okay, not so hot, not too cold. Yeah, I guess that's not too bad. So, anyway, our guest today is my friend, and he's a mixed bag of different things. Um, he currently runs a consulting organization that deals with business and finance issues. He's a qualified chartered accountant, and he's been that for many, many decades now. He has a
Ah,
bachelor. He has a bachelor's in engineering and master's and doctorate in business administration. He sits on board a number of companies and is the former president of the Project Management Institute in Nigeria. Like me, he's passionate about leadership, self-development, and mentoring. He's also a public speaker, MC. I said he's passionate about mentoring, but he's passionate about mentoring the younger generation, the youngsters, and he's committed to doing this. He successfully, guess what? He ran 2 London marathons and he's run a number of half marathons. I've never done that, and I don't think I'm going to ever try that. Um, and now he's an avid cyclist. He's currently writing a book. You have to tell us about this during the course of this episode. Please, you have to. And he plays the guitar. He's a Christian and he's married to one of my besties, and they have a beautiful daughter. So, Hangout Cafe, Hangout family members, let's welcome Dr. Deji West. This is his first time, so welcome him, show him some love. Let's appreciate him. He needs to see the love, the hugs, and Hangout family. You guys know what to do. So please.
I could feel it now.
Okay. Me, I haven't see I can't see it on my screen, so I don't know
Oh,
what wait.
I can see a lot of love coming through.
Oh, great. That's fine. Because I can't see, but okay, I guess it's probably delayed. Fine, fine, fine. Yeah, okay, I can see it now. Mr. West, of course your wife will will welcome you. Mr. West, is that Juto, or is it Wonderworks?
I
Yeah.
have no clue.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, thank you so much for agreeing to do this, Mr. West, Dr. West. Yes, 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 yes. See all the love and the hugs. Yes. You have lots of friends, though. You have friends.
I'm not worried.
You have friends. So, Dr. West, Deji,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about it. Maybe something I probably haven't mentioned. Anything we should know about you.
Okay. I think one of the tricky things about me is that since I was born, I wanted to become a medical doctor. All I wanted to be in life was a medical doctor, and I found myself in the O levels, as we used to call it in those days, and I got P7, which is in biology, which is kind of very strange because myself and another friend, we actually did quite well in biology, and he also got P7. So we were kind of puzzled about this strange result.
So
So
what
I know
happened?
well, I'll tell you in a second. So my father was like, well, you did well in maths and technical drawing and all this. Why didn't you go and do engineering? And of course, the dad speaks, you follow. So I ended up going to do for the A levels. It was physics, maths, so physics, add maths, and pure maths. And then about 2 years after, we found out that those who had scored a really high mark, WIAC had actually downgraded their results on the grounds that they might have seen, had some form
Yeah.
of expo or something like that. So that's why I didn't become a medical doctor, but I chased this and I became a doctor eventually. Although the doctor of book, not of bodies.
Not a
There you
bodies.
go.
But it's
Like
not
your
too late. You
husband.
can still go back. You can still
Sorry?
go back. I said you can
No,
still
thank
go back.
you. No, thank you.
They say it's never too late.
I agree with that, but I'm not sure what I'll do. I think I'll panic if I see somebody injured or something. I'll be like, what should we do? That I wouldn't know what to do.
Okay. So today we're talking about the courage to believe. If I was going to ask you, what is courage? Well, actually, courage, what exactly is courage? Because sometimes we use the word and we don't understand the meaning. What is courage to you?
So I think for me, courage is probably the ability to overcome challenges or ability to go forward in the face of adversity, or perhaps confront your fears, confront obstacles, and know that you'll be able to get past. The ability to walk into the unknown. I think that's probably what courage is.
And
Boldness in the face of the unknown.
I like the boldness in the, say that again, boldness in the face
In the
of
face of the unknown, yeah.
Okay. So what is the courage to believe?
Ah, okay. So I would say nobody knows the future.
Yeah.
Nobody knows the future. So as I said, courage has to be the ability to overcome challenges,
Okay.
and therefore the courage to believe has to be something to do with a goal. I'm going somewhere. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I have to get there. I don't know what the obstacles are, but I have to get there. So it's courage. I guess to believe is to have a destination.
Right.
Courage, you overcome challenges, or to believe that I will make it to something, or there's a goal ahead of me. That's what I probably believe it is. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
It makes sense to me. Does this make sense to you? Do you agree with him or disagree? Put your comments in. So, Mr. West, for you to agree to come on Hangout Cafe today, I guess you must have something to tell us about the courage to believe. Where do you want to start from?
Okay. I guess, if you look at courage to believe, or developing courage to believe, you'd say it's something where you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. You have to you go down a path that you don't have control of. I guess one of the easiest examples is marriage.
Yeah.
Marriage, for instance, contrary to most people's beliefs, I believe that marriage is a gamble. It's not something you've tested. It's not something that you've ticked all the boxes. There's just no guarantee. You say, "Oh, I love you forever. I love you forever." Blah blah blah. But I strongly believe that marriage is a gamble, and it's just my personal belief. Yeah. Um, and then the other thing I would say is that I think people who have purpose, it's what they love, and that develops their courage to believe. So if you look at uh, people who have a passion for something, they're drawn to it and they stick to it. Some are fortunate; they like to play football, they get paid for it.
I
Some are
know.
unfortunate, like to play football, but they don't get paid for it. So, but it's a must. It's what you must do. Your passion, everything that draws you towards something is everything that draws you towards something is your courage to believe, in my opinion. Okay, and I think that for me, if you look at our marriage
Your wife said,
is
"Are you saying you gambled on her?" Mm-hmm.
there's a thing you say in America about the Fifth Amendment. Otherwise, anything I say might implicate me, and I want to sleep well tonight. So if you think about it, the big elephant for us in terms of our marriage is that it took ages for us to have our first child. It took 19 years for us to have our first child, and it was a very long road, and it was a long road with two people with different opinions about what it is to go for it. So my wife, full of faith and full of belief, said God is going to do it, and I'm like, hey, there's technology. Let's use technology, and it took ages for her to believe that we should go down the technology road. Yet she wasn't convinced about the road of technology. But I mean, but she she agreed to it. So I mean, we 13 IVFs later
Wow.
agreed to it.
13 IVF later.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm just saying the road was long, but nevertheless, her passion was that God is going to do it, and mine was if people can get on a plane that's made from metal
Yeah.
and they can fly in that plane from A to B, and they
Yeah.
don't think about it. It's one of the greatest forms of faith is going on an aeroplane, because you step
Yes.
in an aeroplane and you can't see where you're going,
Yeah.
but somehow you believe you'll get where you're going to. So, um, and it's all about the technology from, I guess, the God-given talent. God has given man the talent to put all these ideas together to build this metallic object that can fly in the sky. In the
Yeah.
same way, I believe that God has given medical professionals the talent to do A plus B plus C in order to
Absolutely.
make couples happy and for them to become families.
Yeah.
And so if you look at it from that perspective, I believe that technology is definitely one way that you should use to go down the route of having children. So
Okay,
for us, it was challenging and it was a long road. So if you want, go ahead.
yes, I was going to say that you both believed. It's just that she believed that God was just going to do it, and you
Mhm.
believe that God can do it, will do it, but He might use technology to believe it,
Absolutely.
to
Absolutely.
bring it to pass. Now,
Yes.
of course, we still have a lot of people who are still on the fence, who say that no, if you believe God, then just believe God. You don't have to do anything else.
Yeah, and I think that is I think that's actually very wrong because even biblically it's encouraged. Biblically it's encouraged, because if you I think it's in the book of Colossians in the Bible, chapter 1, I think that's 15 to 18, it says that all things that were made for him, by him, through him, and obviously for our benefit. So if he's going to say that, even if, one of the funniest ones that I think is in the book of Isaiah, God says, even the weapons that are made for destruction, God said, I made them. So
Mm.
there's progress in life, and you have to embrace progress, or you'll be left behind. That's the way I see it. That's my take on that.
I guess some people see it as if you do that, if you decide to go that route of using technology, it shows that you don't have faith in God. That's what some people believe in.
Yeah, and that's actually the greatest mistake, the biggest. I guess it's the. I'm not abusing anyone, but I think it's a statement of ignorance to a certain extent. Because even when you go down the road of technology, you still have to have faith.
Yeah.
It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's a very difficult story. It's very complicated. Not everybody's body is the same.
Yeah.
There are no two humans who have the same insights, and so even for the doctors, there's also an element of guesswork.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you go down the technology road, don't stop praying. Is what I say. It's, it is technology, but you still have to have faith with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Now let's go back a bit. When you married your wife, you knew she had the SS sickle cell trait, and you still went ahead and married her.
Oh, Jesus.
How
Ouch.
did what? No, seriously, because I'm sure you've been
Oh my
asked this
goodness.
before.
Okay, wow. That's a big one.
People would have said,
So
"That's
when
crazy. Why would you do that?"
okay, so that's courage.
Yes, I know it's courage. Where
So
did you get the
so when
courage?
we discovered that we liked each other more than we should, she then expressed to me that she was a sickle cell carrier and all that. And so I went and I'd never done the test before in my life. I went and did the test and I came back with a very strange
The internet.
genotype AC, which I thought was unusual. But
What? Sorry.
with my genotype was AC.
It's what's that?
Yeah, no idea, but people are usually AA or AS, but I was AC. But I'm not sure why it's like that. I'm sure the doctors understand better, but that's what I
What's
came back with. And so when they looked at both of us, they said, we're fit for marriage, and so it was not a difficult thing. But having to deal with a crisis, which is now very. I think the last time she had a crisis was in 2019. It's really heart rendering. That's why I don't think I could be a doctor.
But
Okay.
when before you married, I'm sure people must have tried to dissuade you to say you shouldn't
Okay,
do it.
so I only had a conversation with one person, my first cousin, and she just said to me that you better go read up about this, just know what you're getting into. And that was the critical conversation. And so I then, because we've always heard about it, but I never went into any depth about it. And I did read up about it, to be honest. But I think the liking the person was too much. And obviously, if the doctors had said to us no, that we were not a fit, I mean, we were adults enough at the time to say we wouldn't go ahead with it. So yes, the my lucky blow was that during the honeymoon she had a crisis
Oh wow. Oh
on the
wow.
road, not even like in the hotel or something. We were out.
Oh,
That was tough, really tough. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so that's courage actually. Thank you for that. I accept that as an act of courage.
yeah, definitely. That was an act of
Yeah.
courage. But let me ask, go back and ask this question. How does one develop the courage to keep believing? So if I use you guys as an example, 19 years before you had your baby girl, how do you develop the courage to keep believing, keep trusting, God is going to do it? So many of us are believing God for things and we haven't received them, those things.
So
So where do you develop that courage where it's not
okay,
just blind faith?
I think the first thing is marriage is commitment. You can't, So for me, the analogy to marriage for me is you put a man and a woman in a boat, and you put that boat in the middle of the ocean without oars or anything, and you can't step out of the boat. So that's the first thing. It's For me, marriage is commitment. You stick to it, good or bad, it doesn't matter. So that was the first thing for me. The second thing I'll say is that uh, faith played a big role. I think faith is an incredible currency, and you have to spend that currency to remain believing. So, in that respect, you need to you need to amass loads and loads of that currency in order to stay on track. So, for me, that's the second thing. And then when you're in the game,
Yeah.
when you're actually playing that game, when you're on that path or that process, you don't think that you're courageous. It's when you look back, it's, oh my God, yeah, but Ross, well done. I had a lot of ladies coming up to me after we had the chat. So, wow, you stayed that long. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm like, what did I do? But when you look back is when you say, oh, well, maybe that was a courageous act. Maybe you did a great thing there in the midst of a lot of temptation and pressures and things of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember when Juton came on, she talked about those who wanted to help by saying it's okay, they can carry the baby. And so all those temptations must have been there.
Oh,
But
they certainly were there. I had many offers, by the way. So let's not go into detail.
we won't go into details. Well, but no. So that's how, so for you, it is because marriage is a commitment, your faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the third thing?
No, I just said the faith as a currency because you don't actually know you're playing a game of courage. It's the point I made that it's when you look back that you realize that you were in such game.
Okay. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about life in general, apart from your marriage. What are the where actually have you ever failed at anything?
Plenty of too many,
Business. Tell
too
us.
many,
Give us
too
your.
many.
Because
I think
sometimes
I think
people fail at things and they give up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me just first say this. We just shortly after we got married, I'd come out of doing a lot of property business. I was in the property business. I mean, I was working as an accountant and in financial systems and things of that nature. So I wasn't a poor guy, if you know what I mean. I was making a little bit of money, and I had gotten into the property industry in the UK with a friend, and I kind of wanted to do something more exciting. I wanted to be run an airline. I wanted to be one of
Oh,
these guys that owned an airline. And I it's so we had studied the what happens every Christmas in the UK, how prices would go up suddenly for flights going to Nigeria and back, and how
yeah.
there was a lot of people were left disappointed. Some people went to their flights to go back to Nigeria to get married, and you get to the airport and you got there late, and somebody else was taking your seat, and all kinds of interesting things like that.
Yeah.
And then they would have to, probably bump them up to business class, and they spend all their money and things like that. So we decided to hire 747 to do chartered flights to Nigeria. This was pretty much a few months after we got married, and that venture was actually quite amazing. But we everything seemed to be going well until the first flight. We had 312 passengers to fly to Nigeria from
Right.
Gatwick Airport. They were all checking in. There was about 15 passengers left to check in when the owners of the aircraft got a message from Nigeria that they would not allow the plane to land, that they
Oh,
had revoked the landing rights. So
wow.
so that kind of like threw us into a tailspin, and the whole episode was they had to protect us from nasty Nigerians by pulling us into the check-in counter and
Wow.
hiding us behind the. It was became quite it was fraught with difficulty. One of the I guess one of the down moments of one's life. And it now became a case of we had to pay all these people back their money.
Wow.
So, and if you had looked at the projections would have made us very wealthy, and the we had to, and but we had spent so much on marketing and all kinds of things. So we really needed the flights to take place. So we now had to pay back people's money. Some of them threatened to sue us uh, because some people were saying, "Well, I paid you. I didn't go to another airline. You have to pay me the excess." So some people got more than they were due, and even after using the insurance that we had for the flight, it
Yeah.
was a tough time. It's a really tough time, and through that time, all the sort of body blow through prayers, we felt some comfort, and we felt able to continue. I mean, prayers was like a serious prayer, by the way. So yeah, that. But I never went back into the airline industry after that. But I still, in my opinion, had the courage to continue. If I hadn't tried it, then
You would
I
never.
wouldn't have. Yeah,
Yeah. I guess that's the
that was
diff.
a big one. Yeah,
Sorry, go on.
that was the big one. Yeah,
Oh, well, that was a big one. My goodness. But
I
you were able.
became very poor after that. So, and I felt bad. I said, "Look, I just got married, and suddenly, everything is impaired. It's really a tough time to come out of that." Yeah. So from that, I went back into employment again.
Well
So there
done.
you go.
Well done for not giving up.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you went into other business ventures after that.
Oh yes, I have. Not all of them have been. Some have been successful and some not. So it's both ways.
But that's life, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Hmm. Okay. Um, so let's talk about, remember I talked about blind faith.
Yeah.
So let's talk about blind faith and ignoring evidence.
Ouch. So I would probably say that the the airline opportunity was one of those where it was probably blind faith. I just felt that it would work. And when I was doing the negotiation with the airline, for instance, I said, look, we need to go to Nigeria and make sure that, we're not going to have any problems. We need to go to the Federal Ministry of Aviation, FAN, all the various agencies.
Yeah.
And they said, no, 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 that's not how it works. That once you hire us, we'll just send them a signal, and they did send a signal and everything seemed okay. But I just felt that there was something called the Nigerian factor that we had to take care of. But the guy said we shouldn't worry. So yeah, I think as I said earlier, I think courage to believe is to believe in something, a destination, a goal.
Okay.
Um, and I feel that, having faith is your fuel or your motivation, that drives you to get into that goal. So I think, yeah, without a shadow of doubt, that it's slightly different from having the courage to believe. Because if you have the courage to believe, you probably would go through some sort of measured approach. You be pragmatic about it. You go through the right steps, through the right process. But for you to have blind faith is like having an unconditional belief in something. You just say, well, this is going to happen. I know it's going to happen. You don't put in all the various, you don't do the maths, basically. And it sent a lot of people down the wrong path. And we call it poor decision making. Um, but the truth is that a lot of people have had blind faith. They've gone down that path and they've
Yeah.
had incredible success.
See,
For
I would
instance,
say that because, when we say we believe and we have faith, we don't necessarily see, we don't know what's going to happen.
yes,
So isn't that the same thing as having blind faith?
not necessarily, because if you look at it, having a goal, nobody knows the goal. Everybody has a goal. So I have a goal to become the next president of Nigeria in the next 4 years. That's a goal.
Okay.
But there's certain steps you have to take to get to that goal. I think the easiest way to put it is project management. Project management is an example of blind faith or leadership, because leadership is I think leadership is the influence you have on a group of people in order
Yeah.
to achieve a goal. So in the
Yeah.
same way, project management teaches you blind faith. You're the project manager. You have to grab a group of guys with some resources, and you have to deliver something. But you can't see what you have to deliver today, but you have to put some steps in place in order
Okay.
to deliver that goal. And that's this. It's a form of blind faith, but you know the steps you have to put together.
Okay.
Whereas blind faith, you don't do the maths, you don't put those steps together. You're like, I'm going to do it because that's my passion, that's my ambition, and it takes you down the route possibly of bad decisions. That's the problem with blind faith.
Okay. So you with faith, you still like I think someone put it, faith without works. You still have to do the work, even when you have.
Absolutely,
Yeah. So like,
absolutely.
okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
I would say that our airline adventure was probably had a little bit of blind faith in it,
Okay.
because I don't think we did all our maths completely. Yeah.
So did you go to Nigeria at all?
Yeah, several times. I was going to Nigeria twice a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a big operation, it's huge. We had
What?
an operation in Nigeria. We had the operation in the UK. It's huge. We're going out every weekend, giving out. So we were able to do the marketing in the UK, the marketing in Nigeria, but it was with the authorities as where we were probably deceived. Is probably the way to put it. They were not truthful to us.
I guess as they say in Nigeria, you didn't rub their palm properly.
with so the partner who was working in Nigeria did some serious robbing. Ain't no doubt about it. But they just were not truthful to us. Technically, they couldn't do it, and they should have told us from day one,
Wow.
not on the day of the flight.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, how does having the courage? No, actually, let me ask this question. Are some people born to just have faith? Are there some people who are just naturally courageous? If God says something, they just flow with it? Or is it something that, I know you've talked about how you develop the courage to believe, but are there some
Hmm.
people that are more predisposed to being courageous or not? And
Okay.
does it have anything to do with the background also? Your
We, we,
background.
without a shadow of a doubt. So, you cannot just develop that courage. Something must trigger it. So, and the great instances are seen in people who come from impoverished backgrounds and how they become major achievers. They
Okay.
come from nothing and they become something. That comes from the kind of determination that, my goodness, my father doesn't even wear shoes, or my father, we live in a an attached house or something. I don't want this for myself. I want to progress. I want to be different. I want to be special in life. And
Okay.
you see that in people who come up, who have determination to do something in life, and then they do it and they have great success. But I think, to put it into better context, I think your everything that makes up your persona, your being, your education, your home training, your experiences in life, all that put together are the things that determine your courage to believe. Is probably what I would think. I
Okay.
think it's a complete, the makeup of everything that you are. It is how you develop that courage. It's how you know that this is something I should do or something I shouldn't do. That's the way I put it.
Okay. All right. Folks, if you have any questions for Dr. Deji, please put it in the question box. He said he's willing to answer any questions. But now, let's go. I really want to hear a personal story. I know you've told us. You've told us about your marriage. You've told us about another one. So give us another example, because people are able to relate more with your personal examples of how you've had the courage to believe. And actually, not
Okay, so I
but
think the story of the career is definitely one. I think I did civil engineering at university, and I knew 100% that it's not what I wanted to do. I mean, such a huge subject area, and the only bit of it I loved was the bits about building bridges. So, and when I started working immediately after, I was working on buildings and testing loads on the computer and all, and I just knew that this wasn't me. Um, and that I was going to go down a very, I was already getting sad. I was living in London, I was working in Cambridge, and that commute was doing my head in, and I was then sitting down all day and doing something I didn't want to do. And I just told my dad, no, this is I'm not going to do this. And I then went down the road of accountancy. I spent a year doing a conversion course, and I loved it. So I hope that helps as well.
so did you finish okay, you actually did. You finished
So
your engineering.
I got my degree in civil engineering, but I didn't love it. I didn't like it at all. It was not my love in life. Um, Looking back, the engineering has helped me greatly. It's helped me in my career. It's helped me to be able to think, particularly when working with things that have to do with uh, uh, engineering, people to, especially when I worked in the oil and gas industry. The oil and gas industry has a lot of civil engineering associated with it. So just understanding things, and when, on the operational side, has helped me, the engineering has helped me greatly. And people refer to it, and you don't know when you go, your mind is thinking as an engineer. So yeah, so there's everything has value in your life. Everything you do in life has value in your life. Perhaps
Absolutely,
later
yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone just asked a question. Would you both have married each other if you had been AS or SS? Would you have gone
No,
ahead?
no. I think we had the maturity that we had agreed that if that was the scenario, that we wouldn't. Yeah. So we had
Okay.
already agreed. We had agreed up front that we wouldn't.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Oh wow. I was thinking of we had, I think it was Toyosi that was on a few months ago last year, and I think she was SS and her husband is AS, and they went ahead and got married again. It was a difficult decision, but they still went ahead and got married. But I guess each couple is different.
Yeah. No, because we discussed it,
Okay.
and we said, if this is the scenario, we'll just be friends.
Oh,
Yeah. But we discussed it. It was something that it was before us, and because she knew she was on the S curve, and I wasn't. So
Oh, wow. Okay, Jerry, there was something I was thinking about this morning. Early hours of this morning, I don't sleep early. Anyway, so I saw something on someone's WhatsApp status, and it was something that happened in America. I don't want to talk about it online, but I said to her that, or rather, she said to me that the challenge is people don't speak up, especially Christians. We don't speak up about such things because we are afraid of being cancelled. And and I'm sure you know that this cancel culture is something that is very prevalent now. You say something and they cancel you. But what do you think about a lot of things? Even in schools now, they're trying to teach children about same-sex marriages. They're trying to teach them about all sort of rubbish, pornography, masturbation, all of that. They're saying it's okay to teach children about that. But what do you think about Christians speaking up and not being afraid of the consequences? Don't you think do you think it's time we start to speak up about such things and not only react when something bad like the thing that happened in America happens?
oh, that's a real big one. So as the individual speaking out, is that what you mean?
As individuals
Com-
speaking up and say, no, this.
confide, confiding in someone. That's what you mean.
No. So, for example, with these things that I said are happening, and I don't know, it's not happening in Nigeria. The schools here
Yeah.
want to start teaching our kids about
Oh man,
marriage.
I'm a traditionalist.
So all of those things. But what I'm saying is, when do we, when should we be speaking up more about these things instead of just reacting? Because someone said it's difficult to speak up. I know it's difficult to speak up, but are we going to keep quiet and then allow them to be teaching our kids these things? When are we going to start having the courage to speak up and say, like Esther, so be it. If
I
I
think I
perish.
think we need a movement. I think if you look at it, most Christians have um, who who have this sort of traditional concept that this is what the body was made for. Man is man, woman is woman. I'm a traditionalist like that. I think it's something that we need to. There should be a movement. It's easier when it comes from a group rather than one person shouting, being a lone wolf. I think it needs to start in the background, people saying we're going to have a voice to go against this. But I think as a movement, it's much better, and it will get the kind of attention that it requires. But I think
Like,
as individuals, it'll be more difficult. That'll be my take on that.
yeah,
It's
it's a
scary.
difficult one.
The future is scary.
It is scary. Seriously, it is scary. And I worry for our kids. I really worry about our kids and their children and their children's children. Because it's,
Yeah, I have a friend who said her daughter came back and said she was lesbian, and I was like, oh my goodness, what do you say to someone like that? She went to school, came back 2 years later, after university, or 3 years later, and said she was gay, basically.
it's interesting you said this because I saw a tweet the other day, and this guy basically saying the same question. How do you respond when my son comes home and says he's gay? And a lot of people just said, just love him. Just love him.
The first that's the first point. You can't disown your son for that
Yeah.
reason. You have to love him and love him out of it if you can. But I think we need to have a voice really quickly, because if the all the LGBTQ, if there's a lot of stuff coming out and telling them they're not okay, they're not okay. I think that 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 noise, we really need to have that noise coming out.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. We need a movement. We do need a
Yeah,
movement. And like someone said, together we're stronger. But it's so tough.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm afraid
Okay.
of the future, but movements is the way forward, I think. Yeah. Okay.
Someone asked a question. Oh, let's see. Uh, Yeah, how do you stay positive after 19 years of waiting? How do you stay positive?
So I think one of the things that I like to say is that every every man doesn't want to hear um you know when you're married, my wife would say to me every month, "Oh, my period came. Oh, my period came. Oh, my period came." And it went into single numbers, into double digits, into three digits, and it just kind of went on. And there's so many examples of when it didn't come at the right time, and 1 week went past, and it went 2 weeks, 6 weeks, and the period didn't come, and so we're now praying earnestly that, yeah, this is it. And then my period came. So it was that was really tough, really tough, really tough times. But I think commitment over adversity is probably the way to look at it. Two of us were in it together. Without a shadow of a doubt, our desire was to have children,
Yeah.
even though we wanted to go about it different ways. And I put a lot of effort into it. I always boast that I know more about a woman's body than 90% of women. I mean, I'm well read, well educated, and everything. I've studied it inside out. The whole issue of going down the road of technology, and very, very, I understand it fully. I mean, so in that respect, maybe I could become a medical doctor after all. So yeah, I don't know if I've answered the question, but we're still together.
Your faith, like you mentioned, played a huge
Yeah,
role in that. Okay.
yeah,
Um,
and just doesn't you couldn't step out of the boat. It was too late. That's the way I see it.
well, I guess. But there was another question that someone asked. How did you practically support your wife? That's for any man who maybe any couple that's going through the same.
Ah, it's a question that you have to ask the son this question because she will say I didn't support her.
I'm sure he
So
did.
I think to answer that question, so you have to understand that every failure of an IVF is a huge blow on both parties.
Mm,
Obviously, more the woman than the man. So in that respect, I think I provided some support, although I'm sure she's going to say it was never enough. But it was quite tough. Every failure was tough. I think at the time of failure, I guess my support would have been up there, but I'm not sure that I can cover myself in glory and say that I was very supportive. It's very difficult to understand how a woman is thinking
yeah.
when you're going to work and all that. I never saw her private tears and all that kind of stuff, which she told me about. I said, you were crying that day. Do you mean it? I didn't know now. So things of that nature. So yeah, it's quite tough. It was quite a tough time, but I think commitment and being in the marriage and being there at the strong points. I didn't run away or go somewhere and hide under a table or something. I was there all the time. Is what I would say. I couldn't definitely cover myself in glory and say that I was the man. So there you go.
But also, also, I know it's the woman that has to carry the pregnancy. The woman, a lot of times people blame the woman. It's the woman's fault that, she's not pregnant, all of that. But I don't think a lot of people really think about the man or the men in the marriage
Okay, so
because
this is a great,
tough on them.
yeah, this is a great point you're making, and without a shadow of a doubt, it's 50-50.
Mhm.
It's to make a child is 50-50. I guess to make the child, to carry the child is the woman, but so so both parties have to put in the same effort. In the journey, I found that was always the woman putting in the effort. In our journey, I was the major influence. I guess I was a bit desperate anyway. But the key thing is that it's 50-50, and men, particularly those who are listening who have this issue, should not leave women to do this thing. Doesn't work at all. It just they should be part of it. That's what I would say.
Okay.
It actually makes the journey easier when you do it together, when you're on the same page. It actually makes it so much easier and possibly shortens the journey as well because you get to the same page at the same time. My wife and I had differences on things like surrogates, and it took us years to overcome because as far as she was concerned, I'm a woman. I want to carry like other women carry.
Yeah.
But I was like, hello, we've tried so many times. It didn't work. There's somebody do it for us. And that's how we had our success. But it took time to, and I was like, girl, I'm getting old. I want to go watch football with my son. I want to dance at my daughter's wedding, etc., etc. So that's how I was thinking. But she was like, I want to carry like every other woman, and I was like, let's use technology.
It's interesting. I would love to ask her how she eventually got to that place. So maybe I'll have her back on one of these days.
I can give you the answer, and I forced her. Let's move on. I gave her no choice.
You gave her no choice. Okay. Um, someone said, "Are you going to have another baby?"
By the special grace of God, I'm rooting and praying hard for it.
Okay. There's a question here. After the unfortunate mishap of the airline venture, how did it impact your marriage, given it was at the early stage of your marriage? Did it have any?
I think it's a fantastic question. I think it and the testament you got to my wife because it was early. It was the same year we got married, so she said, "Man, I'm not dealing with this. Let me be going." But she became strong for me. I was the one that was down most of the time, but she said, "Look, you have something in you. I'm sure you're going to be able to recover and do well, and do well again." And she kept pushing me along. I was really depressed, but she kept, making me feel that I was more than I was, and I was like, "Wow, is that what this girl thinks? Or maybe I am after all." So there's a lot of encouragement from her, without a shadow. I really appreciated that for that
Well
time. Yeah,
done, Dito. Well done. Well done. Well done,
yeah,
Dito.
yeah.
Um, right. What would you say to a woman whose husband has gone ahead to have a child outside their marriage because she couldn't have? Ooh.
Ooh, that's a very tough question because even in the state where I live, a guy told his wife as she approached the age of 50 that if you haven't had a child for me by 50, I'm going to find somebody in the village and I'm going to have a child. And that's exactly what he did. Um, but I think that's easy to say on the surface. It's a tough thing. As I said, I mentor a lot of people. I know a girl who I met along this road of counseling or mentoring, who the husband came back from work and picked her up and packed some of her luggage and took her back to her father's house, and went and brought another girl into the house. Tough, real life stories like that. Um, and I think it's very sad. It's very sad, but
Yes.
I think such women should still try and have an engagement with the guy. They need to just walk out. What you're having is such men won't listen, unfortunately. But the big thing is to encourage where there's life, there's hope. So where you can still breathe. There's God has to have a purpose for your life.
Yeah.
It's not to give up. So I had this thing about taking a body blow. Failure is don't stop, keep going. Don't stop, keep going. It's my response to failure. Okay, it's happened. Okay, next step.
Keep going.
That's my absolute response to failure. Just don't stop. Don't let it get you down. Just move. Just move. And that's how I encourage myself past adversity.
But
And that would be the same advice I'll give such a person.
wow, that's a tough one, really. That's a tough one. But talking about keep going, where do you get to that point where it's like, okay, I've tried everything I can. I've got to stop.
So, I believe that if when you stop is when you start dying. To be quite honest, you can't, you
Mm.
can't, you can't, you can't stop. You have to keep going. I think the moment you
And
say, "Oh,
keep going doesn't necessarily mean you're doing the same thing.
absolutely not the same thing," but you need to move on in life, as in what's next or next step.
Yeah.
So I try my hand at getting into the stock exchange. I got hit. I lost all my money. Where am I? What do I have left? Oh, I got 2 shillings left. Okay, what next? And move and take the next step and take the next step early. Otherwise, you'll get bogged down in the past
Yeah.
in what has just happened to you. You take a body blow and you move on. It's really the story of a boxer. if you're boxing and you get hit and it hurts you,
Yeah.
you can't say, "Oh, it hurts me. Let me recover." You don't have that time. The
Yeah.
other guy is still punching you, so you have to get up and keep fighting. Where there's life, there's hope. If you can breathe, then there's something you can still do.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. You always have something you can work with. It's never empty.
I love that. You always have something you can work with. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
never
love,
empty.
I love that. Okay. Let's see. Were you ever angry with God? Did it test your faith?
So I've heard this angry with God thing before. Me, I'm too afraid to be angry with God. I'm more like my approach to God is slightly different. My approach to God is, I'm a baby now. I can't see what's happening tomorrow. You can. I can't. I don't know what to do. Show me the way to go. I just okay. Just hold me and guide me in the way I should go. That's all I'm asking, Baba God. So even when it goes wrong and everything, I still say, show me the way to go, Lord. Just
Mm,
help me. Show me the way to go. And that's my prayer. I think there's a lot of things that people are not aware of, especially in the spiritual realm. We're plagued by the negative spiritual,
yeah.
and having the power to subdue the negative spiritual is a big part of I guess one's Christian faith. If you can successfully deal with the negative supernatural, then you'll find that you make steps much quicker. I think there's a constant battle going on, and to be able to subdue the enemy is the way to make progress. I think.
Can we talk a little bit about that? Because okay, you've been a Christian for years. So and I'm sure you know you didn't get to where you are today in just one day. So it's a process. Can you talk a little bit about that to help someone who is, I mean, whoever asks the question, to just help them, someone who might be angry, God, but I've served you, I love you, and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So the thing about God is God has a standard, and that standard never goes down or it does. It's there. We have to bring ourselves to that standard, and that is a walk of faith. And so instead of going into the okay, so let's look at it from another perspective. Jesus came down from heaven to represent us, to come as an example, to show the way.
Yeah.
That's what people say. Jesus is also referred to the prophet, the priest, and the king. So, as a prophet, he says it's going to be okay. He's
Okay.
prophesying into our lives that it's going to be okay. As a priest, Jesus comes into this human form, oh, the priest, the pastor, this human form, and relates to us from an emotional point of view, from a point of view of compassion.
Yeah.
So that means whatever you're going through, the Lord knows you're going through it. There's a scripture that says that um, your walls are before Him, your obstacles, your difficulties are before Him, and He has you inscribed in the sands. Isaiah 49, verse 16. And He and because of this, the walls are before you,
Yeah.
and He has compassion over you. You have to realize that whatever you're going through, He's there with you. You
Yeah.
can't now fight Him and
Mm,
say he hasn't had compassion on you, he hasn't pitied you, because he definitely has.
yeah.
But you have to play your part, which is belief and faith. And
Yes.
then the third bit, it comes to you as a king, it commands and it comes to pass. So Lord commanded that I'm going to have victory, and he does.
Mm.
So I think taking on God is just not the right way to go.
Who
It's
wants to
like
take on God?
it's fighting yourself. To be angry with God is effectively saying I'm angry with myself.
Mm.
And at that point, you have to actually take a look at yourself and say, what do I need to do differently? But I think if you can build that sort of faith that says, okay, I've been hit, what next? I think that will help greatly. You just have to, you can't stay there, because I know that God doesn't mean bad for me.
No.
And so if something bad happens to me, it's my decision making that got me there in the first place.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's also knowing that God loves you. God loves you so much. The scripture,
Absolutely.
nothing can ever separate you from the love of God. Nothing. And we have to get to that place where we understand the love of God. I mean, for someone to send his
Absolutely.
son to die for you. Again, I always say this. I say, if you're the only person on earth, Jesus will still have died for you. And it's true.
Wow, that's a good one. I like that.
It's true. I believe that
Yeah,
so much.
yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
what he
well,
gave us the parable of
Jesus is about individuals.
sorry.
Jesus is about individuals. That's
Yes,
correct. Yeah,
yes. And that's why he gave us the parable of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and all of that. He will look for
yeah,
you. So we
absolutely.
really need to get to that place. I know it's not easy. Um, I know it's not easy. So yes, someone said it's a perspective we choose to see. Yeah, yeah. God doesn't mean bad for me or for you. He doesn't. He doesn't. So, yeah. Someone was just talking about. Said I can relate with those who are angry with God right now due to miscarriages. Yeah,
So that's why, talking about miscarriages, and this, the things that the knocks, truly, you have to just express, I've come to understand that there's negative supernatural, as I said to you, and the negative supernatural is quite big. I mean, especially in our environment, in our environment here in Nigeria, it's pretty much amplified, the negative supernatural,
yeah,
and you have to deal with it. You go to meetings with people of other faiths, and instantly you know that the atmosphere is just not right, and you have to, your mind say, well, I need you now, and you cannot be blind to this stuff. You can, if there is a positive supernatural,
yeah,
having Jesus, without a shadow of a doubt, there's a negative supernatural.
yeah,
And without, they're fighting. The fight is continuous, and
yes,
you have to be above it. So for you to now take on God is like saying, oh my goodness, God was not, you need to fight yourself, overcome unbelief, and believe that, but you have to get back into this courage to believe. That's really what we're talking about today. Get yourself back to the point of courage to believe. This is my goal, and I'm going to get to that goal. Fill your fill your bank account of faith, because that's really your full that keeps you motivated going to that goal, in my opinion.
I love that. Fill your bank account of faith. And sometimes that bank account is low, but like every
Yep,
other thing, you need to top it up. Keep topping it up.
absolutely.
Topping it up.
So Christianity, the currency of Christianity is faith.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Do you know, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I was reading. It's scripture we all know very well, Philippians 4, 6 to 7. But it just made so much sense to me again. And it says, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything you can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and mind. Do you know, it just blew my mind again. I know the scripture. I know the scripture. But for some reason, it's like, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. But we know that a lot of times we worry more than asking. But God is saying, don't worry. Even this thing that whatever you're going through, just take it to God in prayer. And He knows anyway.
That is so amazing. You just encouraged me, because I have a huge challenge before me, and I just feel so blessed. And that challenge is on Monday, so I feel so blessed listening to you. Thank you for
No, seriously,
that.
that is how I
And
felt yesterday. Because I thought,
I think
don't
you're
worry
right.
about anything. Instead,
Yeah,
pray about everything. That's how I was really, this was what I was saying to myself. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for everything. I just love that. It's
it's amazing. That's so amazing. I really, that's touched me. I feel strengthened now.
That's what how I felt yesterday. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's for anyone that wants to read it. It's Philippians 4, 6 to 7 in the New
six
Living
to seven.
Translation. It's just so.
That's very apt. Thank you so very much for that.
No,
I
thank
needed to hear that.
you for being so open and honest and vulnerable, and for encouraging us too, to keep going. Don't give up. Top up your faith bank, and
Yeah.
yeah, and God is just he. God wants to answer prayers. I think that's the best way to put it. He does want to answer our prayer.
Mm.
We know
If
that.
I can just say something
Yeah,
about everyone has purpose.
Yeah.
You have a reason for which you were created.
Yeah.
And your lifelong journey is to fulfill that purpose.
Yeah.
And as a human being, you will remain dissatisfied or unfulfilled until you start working in that purpose for which you were born. So, for instance, for me, I know I'm a teacher. So, just every time I find myself in the teaching mode, I just feel I'm there. But obviously, there are levels and there are levels, and I want more and more
Yeah.
in that respect.
Yeah.
So I just believe that if as an individual you need to know why you exist and
Mm,
just pour yourself in that direction, even if it's blind faith.
mm,
You- It's the most satisfying thing in life is to know your purpose and move in that direction and not to be derailed from it, but to keep going down that process towards that destination for which you were created. I think that pushes you, it gives you the zest to leave, the zest to go on to the next day. It's
yeah.
so important for people to know this, I think.
But the question people are going to ask is, so how do you discover your purpose? How do you
So
get it?
that's why we're saying courage to believe. That's exactly puts us back there. You have to know what you love. You have to know what your passion is. If you sit down and you say, "What do I want to do?" I mean, the answer is going to come.
Yeah.
If you give me an empty bottle of Coke and you ask me to describe it, I'll spend an hour describing it. Um, it's because I want to teach. So at the back of my mind. So I think everybody just needs to know what their purpose is and follow it. You do whatever that passion is, that thing that you want to do, that you're at your happiest doing it. And
Yes.
even if you don't know, there's several courses, there's several techniques, there's several things out there for you to work with in order to drive yourself down the journey of purpose.
Yeah.
And the journey of purpose will, has the courage to believe, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we need to actually take time to, how do I put it? It's a question of self awareness. Like you said, what are the things that you love to do that they don't even have to pay you for doing it? You will do it.
Yeah.
What keeps you awake at night? What are you passionate about? Those are some of the things you need to keep asking yourself. What are the things I enjoy doing? And hopefully those things will lead you to the path of discovering your purpose. But every single one of us, like you rightly said, we were created for purpose. There's a reason
Yeah.
why we're here. And we were created not for ourselves. I'm sure we all know that anyway.
Yeah. We're
Oh,
blessed to be a blessing.
sorry?
We're blessed to be a blessing,
We're blessed to be a blessing. Yeah.
effectively. Yeah.
Okay, Amo Babaloke said, I think we mostly know we're just scared. It might not pay as much, be cool enough. Yeah, but hey. I was listening to Miles Monroe yesterday. Oh, and I need to get this video to everyone because it really inspired me again. Anybody that wants it, send me a DM or a WhatsApp message, I'll send it to you. And he said that don't don't chase success. What you need to do is become a person of value. That when you become a person of value, then success will follow. It was,
Wow.
it was
Wow.
it's when you think about it, really, if people think that you're valuable, then they will want to pay for that value. That's when you become, I think he said, that's when you become a person of worth.
That's such an exciting thing you said. Some Lionel Messi said,
Hmm.
he said, I spent 17 years training to become an overnight success.
Oh,
He
wow.
created the value over 17 years, and everybody, I want this guy, is what happened next. And then he then became a goat. So this is, I think there are many things that are along the road for people, preparedness, where
Yes.
it meets with opportunity, will bring about success. So whatever it is that you're good, whatever it is that's your passion, become a student of it.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
just whatever your passion is, just become a student. Know it, know it. I love Mike Tyson, especially in his early days. Mike Tyson used to watch all the fights, all the old fights. He watched everything and he developed a technique that nobody could could understand, because he would go into the fight smaller, shorter reach than the other guys, but he had this ability to move sideways and punch,
Yeah.
which they never saw it coming, the people he fought with. But these are things that he learned as a student of that industry of boxing. And so whatever your passion is, become a student of it. That's how
Absolutely.
you create the value that we're talking about.
Yes, 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 yes. And you know, sometimes when we pray, God, open doors of opportunities. But are you prepared? You know, because opportunities will come, but if you're not prepared, and which goes back to what you just said, you have to take take time to prepare yourself so that when this opportunity comes, then you can step into it. So sometimes we see people and we say overnight success. No, 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 no. They have been
So
preparing.
So I'll tell you a story of a very close friend of mine. He was in university doing a master's,
Yeah,
um, and typically the it's going to keep the name of the institution under wraps.
yeah,
And typically in this institution, the when they did the milk rounds, they'll come and interview a few people, and they would take them and they'll go walk in Wall Street, and they would take six people from the university, and they never took blacks, but they had an obligation to interview from the point of view of equal opportunities. They
okay.
had the obligation to interview a few blacks. And here he was looking at his surname, very long Yoruba surname, and he's like, I don't stand a chance. And in fact, he already knew that he didn't stand it because he had already learned about how things worked when they did the milk round. They'll interview a few black people. And so they were going to do this sometime in February,
Yeah,
and the holidays were coming up. They had 6 weeks holiday, and everybody, all the students were going off skiing, and he just remained in the university for the 6 weeks. And what he did was every day he would listen to all the various news broadcasts, the CNN, the Bloomberg, all the news, but he just soaked himself into all the news. He knew everything that was happening from a current affairs perspective. And so in the
right.
6 weeks, he built his value, as we're talking about, and he said he got into the interview, and that the guy did not even look up, just said he should sit down, and the guy was writing something. And then the guy said to him, asked him a question. And when the guy asked him the question, he just said, "Well, my perspective." He said, "Of course, he knew everything at that time." He just said, "My perspective is that this will happen and that will happen." He said, first thing that the guy did was he stopped writing. He said, as he continued to speak, the guy looked up, and then he then entered into a conversation with the guy, and that's how he got the job. So this issue about building value cannot be understated. It's so
Right.
important. You build value, they'll come for you. It's simple
Yeah.
as that.
I have another example. I listened to a talk on Wednesday. Okechi, um, I hope I pronounced this surname properly. He was talking about how before, you know, the call center that we have now, most companies have call centers that take their calls. He had been working on it for about, I can't remember if he said about 10, 15 years. He just said he developed an interest in it and he'd been working on it. So went to Goldman Sachs for an interview, totally unrelated to running the call center. And someone talked about, you know, that Goldman Sachs were looking into having a call center. And he said he just went in, started telling them about it. And to cut a long story short, that's how he was employed to run their call center. He's an executive director there now. Just so,
Wow.
totally unrelated to what he went for the interview for. But again, talking about being prepared,
Yeah.
preparedness.
Follow your passion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just follow your passion. Wow, we could go on and on and on, but yes, you build value, they will come for you. So true, they will come for you. And I think one of the other things Miles Morris said was um, have something unique, which is what you said about what's his name, Mike Tyson. You know, he
Yeah. Be
had this,
special.
yeah. So,
Be
but anyway,
special.
folks, thank you so much for joining us, Deji. Really,
Thank
really
you for having
enjoyed.
me. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, folks. And for everyone who's joined us today, thank you for. I love Hangout Cafe family. They're so engaging. I can spend time just reading all their commentaries. Thank you so much.
Sorry, somebody made a comment of why can't we have Christian primary or secondary schools? There are many faith-based schools in Nigeria, by the way, just to let the person know that yes, we do have them.
I
Yeah,
think we
even
have.
even in the church system, yeah, they're faith-based schools. So everything is as they teach maths or English or whatever it is, it's taught around faith.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I think we have over here too. We do have a few, maybe not a lot, but we do have a few. But yeah, if you feel the Lord is leading you to build, to start faith-based schools, listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit. So, but
yeah,
yes, Mr. West, thank you again for sharing, for encouraging us. And folks, please, I said it at the beginning, I know a lot of people joined us afterwards. If you are not following Hangout Cafe, you don't know what you're missing. Start to follow us now. I know you've joined, but follow us if you're not following Hangout the Cafe. Also, I need you guys, every single one of you on this call today, I need you to follow our YouTube channel, subscribe actually, subscribe to our YouTube channel. By the end of this month, which is like in, today's what, 21st? So like 9 days, 10 days. I need our subscription to go to 1,000, please. So follow us. Go to YouTube, look for Oluwadiaga, subscribe to the channel, please.